Okay, the section of the resume that we're going to be talking about today is our work/volunteer section. This section of our resume is going to include all of your work and volunteer experience for high school, so 9th and 10th grade year. The reason why we put volunteer experience in here is because a lot of you guys haven't worked before, and the things that you're doing as a volunteer are also very valuable. So we want to make sure we're highlighting these in your resume. When we're writing these out, we want to make sure we are starting with the thing that we're doing now in the present and moving backwards to the past. Okay, so if you're currently helping out in school as a teacher assistant, that would be first. If you had a summer job with Work Ready, that would be second. And if you had another job as a freshman, that would be third. So we're always moving in the order of present to past. And this is true for all sections of your resume. Some examples of things that we can be including in here are babysitting, volunteer work at Mastery, Work Ready jobs, any kind of summer job at a camp or a daycare. Some of you guys have volunteered consistently at your parents' job. So the sky's the limits here. There's tons of things that we can be putting in here for this section. Okay, so when we are working on this section in our resume, for each work/volunteer experience, we want to make sure we are including the following. So the name of the organization, the city and state of the organization, the date you worked /volunteered there, your job/volunteer title, and you need to have at least 2 detailed one-liners explaining what you did at that job. Okay, now we're going to talk about the formatting when we're putting our work experiences in our resume. So the first thing that we want to note is the title that you had at that job is going to be in italics. The name of the organization is going to be bold, and your dates are going to be as far right as possible. The reason why the formatting is different for these things, for the title and the name of the organization, is because we want those things to pop off our resume first, so that our resume reviewer can see those things in that first 30-second review to make sure that you have the experience that they're looking for. The dates far right as possible is extremely important. I'll be showing you guys how to do this when we get into the resume in a little bit. Okay, now we're going to talk about our one-liners. This is going to be like the meat of your resume, and these can be a little tricky to craft and make them sound professional. So these are some characteristics of what a one-liner should look like. So our one-liners are always going to start with an action verb. So if we look here, we have advise, recruit, cultivate, file, enter, create, all action verbs. We are never starting with I or anything else. Because we are starting with action verbs, they are not complete sentences. Okay, so we should never see a period at the end of our one-liners. And then overall, we really just want our one-liners to make us stand out and sound professional. So in a second, I'm going to show you guys an example of 2 different one-liners for the same job, and you're going to tell me which one's more professional. Okay, so if 2 people have babysitting on their resume, these are the one-liners that they have. So babysitter number 1 has changed diapers, fed kids, played games. Babysitter number 2 has prepared dinner for 3 children between the ages of 3 and 7, 2 days a week, facilitated enriching activities to help teach the kids teamwork and cooperation. In this scenario, babysitter number 2 sounds more professional. They were able to provide the resume reviewer with a lot more information about their responsibilities. So I now know that this student is watching 3 children, how old the children are, how often they're watching them, and what kinds of things that they're doing with the kids. So if this student was interviewing for a job maybe at a daycare, I'd probably be more willing to hire babysitter number 2 because it seems like they have more experience with the type of kids at my daycare. The last thing we want to watch out for is our action verbs. So I'm going to go over some rules that we want to be thinking about with our action verbs. So we never want to use the same action verb in a row. You want to try to come up with as many different action verbs. I gave you guys a packet of over 100 action verbs to choose from. So what I don't want to see is I don't want to see you guys using helped, 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 helped all the way down your resume. Okay, you have to find a different way to say that and use a different action verb. The next thing you need to think about is you want to make sure your tenses match up with your dates for your action verbs. So if you are currently working at that job still, so if your date says to present, your action verbs need to be in present tense. And that's the case all the way throughout, okay? They need to be in present tense. If you are no longer working at that job, so if you have an end date for your date, they need to be in past tense. So instead of advise, it should be advised, or facilitated, copied. So it's going to have that ED on the end. It's extremely important that you guys are watching your tenses and that you are updating these for the jobs you are currently in. You're using present tense, and for the jobs that you are not working at, you are using past tense. So this is going to be really important to remember throughout the rest of your resume when you're writing your one-liners. All right, so that includes the notes on our work/education section. I will then be going into the actual resume and showing you how to complete the work section.